In this video, we're going to look at how you repeat code over and over again. When you repeat code over and over again, that's called a loop. So let's start off with our program just simply typing something out to console. We'll do the traditional hello world. Okay, let's run that. Okay, you can see we've printed out hello world. Now I'll add a new line on the end. Up until now we've been doing it this way by putting in \n for a new line character. But I'll use this little piece of code here to tell it to put a new line in. So we can also stream in standard end line, when we're streaming to console out as well. So that will create a new line at the end. Okay, so now we've been able to print hello world out to the command line, but now I want to do that a number of times. So if I wanted to do this 5 times, I could quite literally copy that line. Okay, I could do that. Now, if I had to do that 5 times, it's probably not the end of the world. I could probably just type it out like that. But what happens if I wanted to do it 500 times? Or what happens if I want to do it a different number of times depending on when I run the program? Okay, then it starts to become a problem. So we've got a solution to that, where we can just repeat a bit of code a number of times, however many times we want to. So let's go about doing that. First of all, we need to count how many times we're doing something, like if we're up to the 4th time or up to the 5th time, so we need to track that. So we'll create a count variable that starts at 0. And then we're going to use an interesting keyword called while, which is very much like an if statement. So I'm just going to go down here and review the if statement. So when we say if, we put in a statement that we're going to check. So it could be if our number variable is less than 3, for instance. Now if that statement is true, if our number variable is less than 3, then it will do something that is in between these brackets here. So it'll execute that code if this statement is true. Now a while loop is quite a lot like an if statement. So we use the keyword while, and we'll put a statement in here. So in this case we'll say count is less than 5. So count we've set here to 0, so that would be a true statement. So I'll open up these brackets here. I'll put the hello world into the middle of those brackets. And so when our code's running, we set count to 0. Just like an if statement, the while will have a statement here. Count is less than 5. So if count is set to 0, then that is true, and that code will execute. Now where this changes, why it's different to an if statement, is if that is true and it runs the code that's in between these braces, as soon as it's finished, it'll go straight back to that line and start executing from there again. Which means it'll ask that statement again. It'll say, is this a true statement? If it is, it'll execute what's in between the curly braces, and once it's done that, it'll come back up and ask that question, and it'll continually do that until this statement becomes false. At that point, it will continue on. So you can think of a while loop as an if statement that repeats until it becomes false. Now this will never become false because we're not changing the value of count. Count is set to 0. 0 is less than 5, so that will keep running forever. That will just keep printing out hello world forever and ever and ever until we interrupt the program. That's called an infinite loop, and that's a common mistake when people write their loops. They'll write it like this and forget to change the value of count, and the loop will run forever. So what we need to do is we'll go into here, and every time we go through this loop, we'll say count equals count plus 1. Okay, so let's have a look at how this will work. Initially, we set count to 0, so I'll just keep a little running tally down here. Count is 0. Is count less than 5? Is that statement true? Yes. Then we'll print out hello world, and we'll add 1 to the count. So count goes from 0 to being worth 1. So that was true, we ran through here, so we go back up and ask the question again. So now, our count value is 1. Is 1 less than 5? Yes it is. So we execute this code, we add 1 to count. Count becomes 2. So we ask the question again. Is 2 less than 5? Is count, which is now 2, is that less than 5? Yes. So we execute it, we add 1 to it. Becomes 3. Is 3 less than 5? Yes. print out, add 1 to it. Is 4 less than 5? Yes. Print it out, add 1 to it, and it becomes 5. And then this time when we say is count less than 5, we're asking is 5 less than 5? It's not. 5 is not less than 5. That statement is false. So now it'll jump past all this code, go to the closing curly brace, and continue on with the code. Okay, so let's have a run of this program. And it did what we expected. It printed out hello world 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now here's the power of loops. If I want to do that 50 times, all I need to do is change that one number there. We'll run the code, and you can see I've now printed out hello world 50 times. So let's now do an operation rather than just printing something out. What I want to do is I will have a running total. So the user can input numbers and I'll keep adding them to the total. I'll do that for a number of times and then I'll tell them what the total is. So to begin with, I need a variable to store their input. So I'll just call that temp. So that's just an area where I read in from the user a number. I need to put it somewhere, so I'll put it into temp. Then I need my running total, so I'll call that total, and I'll set that initially to 0. So now when we go down to our loop here, I'll just repeat 4 times for this example. I will say enter a number to add to the total. I'll get rid of this end line here because I want them to put the total in, the new entry into that on the same line. And then I'll read in what they've entered and put that into the temp. And then lastly, I'll say total equals total plus temp. And I'll show you a couple of shorthand ways of writing this in a moment once we've got our program working. Okay, so if I run our program now, I would expect to be asked to enter a number to add to the total 4 times. One for 0, when the count's 0, then for when it's 1, 2, 3, not when it's 4 though, because 4 will not be true. 4 is not less than 4. But you can see because I'm starting counting at 0, I'll still get asked 4 times. Okay, this is a nice way to write it, to always start counting at 0, because you can put the number of times you're going to loop here and it will work. Remember, 4 will not get executed, it'll jump. That's why we start counting at 0. Okay, so we still get 4 loops. So let's give that a run and see how we go. So enter a number. I'm just going to put 5 in 4 times. Oh, we forgot to print out the final. So let's throw that in there. Total is, and I'll put total there, and I'll go on to a new line. The program is not very impressive if it doesn't tell you what the answer is. Let's run that again. I'll put in 5, 5, 5, 5. Okay, this time it says the total is 20. So if I wanted to do that 40 times, I could just change that number there to 40. But now I've just got that one bit of code. Yep, asking them to enter, recording it, and then adding it to the total, and I can repeat that a number of times. Alright, you'll see when we get to Arduino, not only is it important to do a loop, it's actually a fundamental part of Arduino, which I'll show you. We can also make use of it in our own code, but Arduino makes use of it in every program regardless. Now I did say I would show you how to shorthand these. So when you do an operation in programming, so when you're changing a value itself, so in this case we're saying count equals the current value of count plus 1, we can get rid of that redundancy of having count written twice. So there is a shorthand where we can say count plus equals 1. So when you do plus equals, it will say add this number to this and replace it. So count, if count was 5, we'd add 1, make it 6 and reassign it to count. Okay, and we can do the same thing up here. Total plus equals temp. Okay, so the total, it'll get the value of total, it'll add temp to it, and then it'll reassign it back to total. Now just to go one step further, in C++, if we're going to just add 1, that's something that happens a lot in programming. where you just need to add 1 to a number. So it has even a shorter way of doing it, where we can say count plus plus. Okay, so these bits of code here now operate exactly the same way as what we had before, but it's just now a shorthand way of writing it. So you'd see this a lot in C++ programming. And just to prove it, just put some numbers in again. This time I'll do 10, 10, 20, 20, and the total is 60. So you can see our code's working. So that's basically what a loop is. With the while loop, there's 3 sections to it. There's assigning a value to a variable that we're going to use to track how many times we loop. We've then got our while statement, which is like an if statement that just repeats. So we have a statement in here that's true or false, and that'll determine whether it keeps running. And lastly, the one you want to remember to do, or you'll end up with an infinite loop, is change the value of count. Because if that never changes, this will just run forever. And that's the basics of loops.